All right. So good morning. My name is Paul Schultz, and I will be the host for this TLC session. We're excited. The CETL, the Center for Excellence Teaching and Learning, is excited to be able to present this interactive presentation workshop on video and web conferencing. I'm excited today to be able to have three of our active faculty members share about their use of video in the classroom, and we're excited to hear and to actually see their presentations as they share how they've been using video in the classroom. And so without further ado, I want to introduce our faculty members. And the first that will be presenting will be Ryan Thomas, and then Dr. Michael Cooper, and then Matt Lewerenz. And again, thank you all for attending this workshop, and look forward to really learning some great things. Look forward to these presentations. Ryan, it's all yours.
Thanks, Paul. Just one moment as I share my screen. My name is Ryan Thomas, and I'm a faculty support and development associate, and I also teach EXP 105. EXP is an entry point course here at Ashford, and it typically starts out with at least 40 students enrolled in the class. I use video in my classroom as a time-saving strategy. You know, after reading the book and teaching the course a number of times, I feel like I'm a real expert on the material, and it's so much more easy for me to just sit down, turn on the camera, and talk for a few minutes than it is to type out a few hundred words for each one of my discussion responses. Now, here in the CETL, we've been trying to create some documents and some resources for faculty to help them integrate video into their classroom. If you're new to using video, you'll definitely want to check out the Getting Started with Video guide that we created. The links in the document, they show you specifically what buttons to push, how to adjust your settings for your microphone or your camera. And they also show you how to post the video in the classroom. I'm going to post a link to this document in the chat. Now, if you're more experienced at using video in your class, this guide is also a super helpful resource because it gives information on recording a screencast and also adding captions to your videos. Now, just really recently, we created a video resource that walks faculty through step-by-step how to record and upload video in the discussion forums, in the announcements, in Speedgrader, and in the Canvas inbox. And it walks you through it in video form. I'm also going to post a link to this in the chat. So once this presentation is over, definitely, check out these resources. I encourage you to check out the video chapters in the video. That way you can just skip ahead to whichever portion of the classroom that, you're looking to include video in. That's pretty much it for me. Right now I'm going to turn it over to two guys that we feel are absolutely crushing it with their use of video in the classroom. So here you go. Take it away, Michael.
Thanks, Ryan. Everybody can hear me? Okay? Okay. Just going to share my screen, so please give me a moment. Okay, so I'm Michael Cooper. I'm a full-time faculty member in the College of Liberal Arts, and I'm also a participant in the Student Success and Retention Committee. So the goals of that committee are fairly obvious. We want to enhance the student experience and make sure that they are getting the most out of the classes as well. So setting out as a committee, we asked ourselves the question, how can we best utilize certain tools within the Canvas learning management system? And to kind of show you all what we were looking at, kind of a more specific set of questions that I looked at when I was starting to apply the pilot ideas to my class. So for you all out there, you might consider these questions too. So find a class you're currently teaching or developing. Locate one assignment or area where students typically struggle to succeed. And finally, determine which online classroom tool can best address that problem. So these are questions that I asked myself at the beginning of the year, and with in mind, of course, the pilot's initiative and goal of increasing student success and retention. So I did find one particular class where students were struggling. This is an English course, Creative Writing ENG 318, but it might be of interest to you too because it's a peer review thread. And in general, I find that students, they really struggle to give constructive criticism. They're very good at giving praise, but perhaps because they're not really confident enough to feel like they're experts in critiquing each other's work, they're kind of shy about giving that constructive criticism that is really the purpose of a peer review thread. So I found this assignment. I wanted to help students kind of succeed more with this assignment because it is so central to the course. I particularly highlighted this part of the assignment prompt because it's really where they struggle the most. Again, it's that idea of giving substantive feedback that is constructive criticism. Also, I just not jump ahead too far, but I emphasize the learning outcomes associated with this discussion board prompt. So, of course, students are going to go ahead and critique each other's work by providing constructive comments, and they're also applying the creative writing principles that we're studying as well. So, with all that said, with those goals in mind, I started using the Speedgrader tool in Canvas. This is for discussion board work in particular. But I'm just going to pull up my class now to show you exactly how to access it. This is a student's work. And as you'll see, this is the Speedgrader format. You all are probably familiar with it. It's a great tool, a great time-saving tool. And I was using just purely text-based feedback until I started using this video, starting this year with the pilot in 2018. And I found the students are really responding to it well. So I'm just going to give you a very specific example of what I did with my video so that you might use it in your classes too. So here we go. I'm going to play this.
This is Dr. Cooper. Thanks for your contributions to this week's peer review. I'm going to give you a very specific pointer or two to improve your contributions to next week's peer review. So in your initial response, I noticed that you said you're talking about your classmate's poem, and you said the theme is pretty straightforward, being about Halloween costumes, and I think it is effective, but maybe just a few more descriptive words. But I'm really just picking for the sake of the assignment. I don't have any more suggestions. And I think that we can go ahead and deepen our constructive criticism a little and try to challenge yourself to find things that are not necessarily problematic, but might be improved. You don't have to be harsh when you offer constructive criticism, but, maybe ask your classmates questions and, give very specific examples of where they might improve imagery, for instance. And you're well on your way to doing that. In a participation post, I noticed that you wrote the only suggestion would be using more imagery and descriptive words about the character's feelings and scenery. That's awesome. Give us more of that, and to improve that particular post even more, you might have just given a couple of instances, specific instances in the poem where your classmate should have used more descriptive language, and so on and so forth. So thanks again,
Okay, everyone. So that was really the gist of my idea. And again, this is supplementing some text-based feedback that we have with that generic rubric and the Speedgrader feature. So the rubric comments are so generic and general in nature that they don't really help students. And I find that giving this video to actually give them a very specific direction in improving their work has really helped. I've seen improvement in grades. And of course, with the end surveys, they also express a lot of satisfaction with having the videos give very specific advice on how to improve their work. And with that, if you all have any questions, we're going to answer those at the end of the session, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Matt now.
Thanks, Michael. All right, let me share my screen here. Hopefully I do this correctly. Wait. That one. Okay, so I'm Matthew Lewerenz, and I am assistant professor in the College of Liberal Arts here at Ashford, and along with Dr. Cooper, I am on the Student Services, Student Success and Retention Committee. And so, as Dr. Cooper noted, one of our sort of core mandates here has been exploring video feedback, and that was something that I was aligned with before I got on to this committee, because I was using it already. So I was really excited to see an opportunity to leverage that with my peers and colleagues, learn from them, and see about further integration. And Canvas has really been great too for that. Before that, in e-college, I had to use YouTube videos and then put them in there. And so it's just been amazing to see the level that we can bring with this format to what we're doing. And so today I really just want to focus mostly on how I'm actually using it in conjunction with my Civitas feedback and for effective interventions, but I also could throw in a couple just tips here and there. And so I wanted to contextualize it briefly by saying that, my video feedback for this classroom is rooted in part of broader studies that I'm doing within a critical pedagogical framework that also seeks to utilize elements of critical pedagogy, a la Paulo Freire, Henri Giroux, et al., along with elements of Eastern philosophy that basically seeks to create a learning experience that is self-empowering for the student as well as the teacher, mutually humanizing, and which creates an environment that can effectively reach across that physical space that divides us. And for this, then authenticity and a sense of connection are really key. And it's because at the heart of this lies a belief with me pedagogically that identification with the other is the best way for transferal or mutual exchange of knowledge. And so in order to do that, it's really, really important for me to have a rapport. So I go all out with my use of this video feedback in the classroom, in as much as I use it for my announcements, for introductory posts, and reply to every introduction with video feedback. And unlike Dr. Cooper, I don't use it in the Speedgrader part for discussion posts. Rather, I jump in the middle of the week and respond to various people's discussion posts with videos that way. And then I sort of have template feedback that I customize for the student textually in the Speedgrader. But anyway, I just wanted to give you some background context to that, so that to make it clear that what I'm doing isn't necessarily rooted in me finding new toys to play with, but really rather an approach, a holistic approach to education that I'm exploring. So with that then, one important area then is intervention, and when students aren't making connections either with you or the classroom or what's going on, and you need to get a hold of them. So one great way to do that is to be able to, we have Civitas, and that's come on board. I know it's rolling out to great success. I think it's a really effective tool. But what was lacking for me was the ability to include video feedback, because I love doing that. And I had found that actually really particularly effective pre-Civitas, because what I would do is open two tabs in a Canvas classroom, one to the grade book, and then one to, the email section. And then I just filter the grades, and everybody who had anything from an F through like maybe a C, I'd send them an email with a video, as you can do through the Canvas email system, and reach out to them. So wanting to still be aligned with Civitas and really use that granular data capturing system that we're being promoted to use, but not wanting to give up that personability that came with the video feedback, I really started just poking around with different ways. How can I get a video file into my Civitas feedback? And so I found a way. And so if you go into your Canvas messaging system, send yourself the video message that you want to send via the Canvas email system and that recording function. That's right there. That's how you do it. If you don't know, you can send video messages in the Canvas email system just by picking your classroom recipients, and then that feature will pull up the icon that allows you to record yourself. So typically what I'll do then for Civitas intervention is record a generic video that I don't use any proper nouns or proper names initially, because I'm going to be sending it to multiple people. And handily enough, within Civitas, because it's going to interpolate the actual student's name there in that form letter, I don't feel like I'm necessarily losing any of my personal connection there, because textually they'll receive an email that has their name. And then by that point, when they start the video, they almost probably don't really realize I'm not calling them by their name. Therefore, it can be efficient and used for multiple students. So step one, send yourself the video message that you want to send out to the other students. It will never pop up in your inbox. At least it never has for me. So you got to go to your sent folder and locate that message. And then you can locate it in your message, and there it is. I sent it to myself, and there it is. So, bam. Right click on, but don't open it. If you try to open it and then save it from there, it wants to save your whole page as an HTML page, a web page. I already went down that rabbit hole. It's a dead end. All you have to do is right click on the icon itself and then save the link as to your own desktop, and you can save it as an MP4 file, and then bam, you've got it. Then you can just jump over into Civitas, pick out everyone to whom you want to reach out, add them to the list. You can CC their advisor, and then you go and you just attach your week 5 MP4 right there as an attachment. You tell them to take a look at the attached video messages. I like to include my phone number there. And then they'll get their first name there. It's very personalized, immediate contact info. And then when they watch the video, this is an example of something that I send out to students who in Civitas are marked, and this is like week 5, so we're coming in on the deadline, and it's almost, it's terrible. They're doing very poorly, and I still want to reach out to them. They're not engaged and they have low grades. I'll see if it can play properly.
Hey, I just want to touch base to let you know that even though we're kind of in the final run-up to the end of the course, there is still time for you to pull things around and to really substantially raise your grade, and that I'm here to help. So I know it's Friday now, and the final assignment is due Monday night, but if you get a hold of me over the weekend, please don't hesitate to call, text, email, video message, whatever works best for you. But know that I'm here, and if I miss it, I'll get right back to you. You can send me drafts of your final essay if you have it via email, and I'll get right back to you and give you some feedback on those. You don't have to rely solely on my week 3 draft feedback for that final essay. And in terms of any past work that you might have, that you just haven't been able to get in yet, maybe you've given up on, if you've got zeros for anything in there, I'm willing to accept that work. If you want to submit it, just turn in whatever you'd like me to review and let me know that it's in there. And yeah, I'll be happy to review it and help you update things. And if I can assist in any other way, or you just want to discuss course concepts, your grade in general, or any other way in which I might be able to assist, please don't hesitate to let me know. All right, thanks, and have a great weekend.
Okay, so that's a typical example of what I'll send there through Civitas, and I feel like it really makes a personal connection to each student, but handily enough, I'm able to send it to, as many students as I need to, while they still get me telling them sincerely that I want to help them succeed and that they can do this. And I've been really impressed with the turnaround that I've been able to get with interventions like this, where, almost immediately within 10 minutes after I send the email, I'll start to get replies saying, thank you for reaching out to me. Look, I've been too embarrassed to get a hold of you, but your video made me feel better, and I'm not so scared of this. Here's what's been going on in my life, blah, blah, blah. I want to do better. I want to do this. And then I say, okay, let's do it. And then, people, that's helping retention, definitely, in that respect. Okay, so then the last thing that I guess I wanted to talk about was just to show some end of course survey qualitative data over the past 8 courses this year that I've taught that really stood out to me and discussed these 2 elements. And that is, I'm sorry, I just now noticed the chat, by the way. This is awesome, but what about the requirement to have a transcript or closed captioning available for the video? Yeah, this is still kind of the Wild West in terms of what we're doing here, so I don't know about that. I can't speak to that right now. I will show you this qualitative data, though. The instructor's video responses were very much appreciated change of pace, set a different positive tone for the course, would like to see other instructors do this. I loved that his video responses were in video form. It made it feel like you were actually physically in a classroom. When I needed help on an assignment, he sent me a video and explained what I needed to do very clearly. My teacher was very helpful. I loved how he responded in video. I liked the fact that he leaves us a video clip of what he thought about our discussions. I wish all instructors did that because it gives that personal touch and it shows how much they really care. And then what I highlighted, probably the one that struck me the most really, was he was the first professor I had to give video feedback to the class in our post, which made me feel like I was actually being taught. And I don't know, that just really struck me. It really resonated with me in a way. And not to speak negatively, but there was almost an implication there that whatever had come before that was not quite as authentic as what they felt after having the video feedback. That whatever thing was going on before, they were getting their education, it was all this and that, but you know, it made me feel like I was actually being taught. And I was like, wow, that speaks volumes to me about the potential effectiveness of video feedback as a tool. So, and then last but not least, I think I threw in just a little very rough, raw quantitative data. Just this is not anything like publishable by any means. All I did was just take the average respondents, the average over 8 courses of my numbers for, strongly agrees for all things, and then weighted that against the average, or compared that to the average for all other Ashford courses. And it's approximately a 10-point difference for people who took that course. And there was 8 courses, and they were English 225 Intro to Film and English 125 Intro to Lit. And in fact, that one where that last qualitative comment about actually feeling taught and about loving the class or something like that, that was a lit class. I've never heard anybody take, our Intro to Lit class and say like, I loved it, but they did. And I think that while these numbers, are obviously are not up to academic snuff for broader presentation, I really just wanted to throw them out there to give you an idea of like, wow, like consistently I was seeing higher marks than the other classes that were those same classes and all other Ashford classes. And so that was really cool. And that's really all I have for you guys. And get out there and record yourself. Do it. It's great, and it makes a difference. So thank you. I will hand it back over to Paul now. I can figure out how. Stop sharing.
No, you're good. And thank you, Ryan, Michael, and Matt, for your sharing. And we've been monitoring the chat for questions, and I'm gonna let Shauna kind of address those, but we're excited. Like you said too, Matt, I appreciate the fact that this is the Wild West, but we want to do it right. We want to do it so that it really makes a difference. But it really does speak to our strategic goal of student engagement with their instructors in the classroom. And, it's great to have trailblazers, leading the way. So we're grateful for what you're doing, and we look forward to seeing more examples as we talk about it. But Shauna, go ahead and take over.
Yes, thank you so much. So please do go ahead and start throwing those questions or comments into the chat box. And Matthew and Michael, if you'd like to pull up chat as well and kind of keep an eye on things, we can just have a nice discussion around it. The one question that was mentioned earlier that I think I'd be able to help address was the accessibility. In getting started with video document that we shared in the chat earlier, there are some great resources on how you can make your video accessible within your classroom. And, kind of like we mentioned, it's the wild, wild west, and we are still working on getting all of our, T's crossed and I's dotted. And we, do want to be cognizant of, making sure that our students with accommodations are taken care of. Feel free to reach out to your students and say, if you have any issues accessing this video, let me know. I'd be more than happy to help in another way, and just open up a dialogue around it as well. But that document will be a great resource.
Should we add that?
I would just add too, with my video feedback and the Speedgrader, I also provide some textual feedback. So the videos do elaborate on that textual feedback. but it is highly extemporaneous. So what I like to do is not only focus on the discussion board post in question, but I also like to expand some of my comments to encompass the assignments, the written assignments, the summative assessment that comes in week 5. Essentially, though I am talking about discussion board posts, I'm also expanding that discussion to include other projects and other goals that we're looking at.
That point, because one of the things that we definitely want to do is make sure that we're using the video as supplemental. So it really shouldn't be the heart and soul of the response, but it should add something to it. But we also want to make sure that we are providing that kind of holistic feedback. And so I think that will also help in terms of accessibility. So if you're in a situation where you haven't quite figured out how to transcribe, providing some textualized feedback kind of takes care of that. So at least students are getting the essence of what you posted.
Thank you so much for that, Aaron. Bill Davis has a great point. He says, "This is awesome, Matt. You're really genuine and real, showing your innovation too, authentic and genuine feedback." That comment that I see there, I also see some other comments in the text about getting over those technical anxieties. How do you guys approach your videos? I mean, we saw an example of it, but do you go for perfection? What is kind of your goal when you're coming across to your students?
I'm sorry that my video didn't play apparently, or it did play and I wasn't sharing the screen. I'm sorry about that. But I would say the professional part is there, and it's not the most technically innovative. I just use a white background, and it's more so the content of the message than any kind of presentation of it. So like Matthew, I try to just wear a regular attire and just show everybody that I am a regular person too. And I think that's a good way to kind of break the barriers between student and instructor. There's this great myth that we're untouchable and we're not human, but we are. And giving video feedback, we're showing that in our portrayals of ourselves.
Yeah, I would echo that and wholeheartedly agree. When I started out doing this sort of feedback, I strove for perfection. I made sure I wore a shirt and tie every time, and that the background was just ultra professional. And but I was still kind of back then playing with time frames, and I was recording like upwards of 10-minute long videos, and that's a nightmare. Don't ever do that. Just keep it to 3 minutes tops if you can. Or less, but it got to be too time consuming. It was actually a matter of efficiency for me when it became to where I was doing so many takes on a single video. If you get 2 minutes in and then all of a sudden you start to stutter really poorly or something, or the dog barks, all of a sudden you're facing the very real prospect of either soldiering on and powering through it, or going back and trying to re-record your previous 2 minutes, which, because it's extemporaneous, as Michael pointed out, might have had some kind of like zazz to it that you can't necessarily bring back, because it's kind of it's like a little mini lecture that you get to give to the student. And so I just learned early on, power through it, be yourself. And if the dog barks and the baby cries, which happens frequently sometimes around my house, what I've had is that I've actually had students who commented and said, like, I loved hearing the sound of your baby girl in the background. It brought a smile to my face. And so it really, as Michael says, it humanizes us and makes us realer, if you will. And from my own perspective, through critical pedagogy, it's a really critical aspect of my view of education as a mutual exchange between equals, rather than the banking system, as Farrer calls it, where we teachers hold all the information and we dispense it as we see fit into the waiting minds of terrified, isolated individuals. And I don't believe that. I believe differently. And so that's a really important, just authenticity, just being myself. And that wound up going a lot farther than trying to be very professional. So, yeah.
A lot of my teaching experience comes in-person classroom teaching. So when I use video in the classroom, it's a way for me to connect to some of the more performative aspects of classroom teaching that I really enjoy. And when I speak on video, I speak the same way as I'd speak to a student in a traditional classroom.
Outstanding. And we are wrapping up this workshop. And I know that, you know, even though, Michael, we didn't get a chance to see your video, it just means that we're going to have another workshop so we can see it. So we'll look forward to, you know, really seeing this grow. And, you know, I honestly, in a future workshop, really, it would be fun to invite other instructors to bring in their videos, and we could kind of have a show and tell type of workshop and have other instructors show us how they were inspired from this workshop to kind of dive in and try their own video feedback in the classroom. So again, thank you all for attending this TLC workshop on video and web conferencing, and look forward. Really encourage you to stick around and you know, look in on some of the other presentations in this TLC conference here going on throughout the day. Again, thank you, and have a great day.